Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education Counseling Virtual Webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also here today, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and he will introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Sion. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is James McCarty. I am the new Associate Director of Admission here at the School of Education at Johns Hopkins. I am very excited to be here with all of you today. I'm pretty brand new in my position. It's been about 3 weeks, so I am learning with all of you today. But in the brief stint for me working at Johns Hopkins, I've been blown away by the support that I've seen for our students, the academic opportunities, research opportunities, internships, all of which you're going to learn about today. So most importantly, you'll find my contact information at the end. I stress to all of you, please feel free to reach out and stay connected. I'm the point person in regards to admission for our counseling information session. And I know, what it's like being in your shoes, going through this process of applying to different grad programs and seeing, is this a good fit for me? Never, ever go through this process alone. So please feel free to stay connected, ask questions. My contact information, again, will be at the end of this program, but I would love to connect with all of you one-on-one to hear more about your story. And again, find out how our counseling program here at Johns Hopkins can be a great fit for you. Thank you again. And I think I'm passing it back to my colleague, Sion, to kick things off for us today. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you, James. And in addition, we have two faculty members, Dr. Ileana Gonzalez and Dr. Ying Zhang. And we also have two student speakers, Keenan Elridge and Aishwarya Jayabaradi. And before I move on to the next slide, I would like to remind everyone that today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share the recorded video with you after the event is complete. And lastly, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box and we will read and answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's presentation. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Zhang will go over details of the counseling programs. We also have two student speakers and they will talk about their student experience in the counseling program. Lastly, we will cover admissions requirements and financial aid and leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. And for school enrollment, we have approximately 1,741 students, and we offer 25 graduate programs, which includes our doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. And we also have a strong network of over 24,000 SOE alums. And moving on to faculty introductions. Dr. Ileana Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez is the assistant professor in the counseling department here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. She received her PhD from the University of Maryland, and Dr. Gonzalez's research interests are urban school counselors and social justice related issues in counselor and education. She's also the member of the American Counseling Association of Counselor Education and Supervision, Chi Sigma Iota International Counseling Honor Society, Counselors for Social Justice, and the Association of Multicultural Counseling Development. She's also the former chapter faculty advisor for the Johns Hopkins University Lambda chapter of CSI, and she's also named Counselor Educator of the Year by Maryland Counseling Association in 2020. Next, we have Dr. Ying Zhang. She's the assistant professor here in the counseling department at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. She received her PhD from Ohio University. Dr. Zhang's research interests are counseling minority clients with a focus on international students, group counseling, mindfulness practice, and the development of multicultural competence in counselor trainees. She has presented at numerous national and international conferences and published in peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Zhang also serves as a reviewer for peer-reviewed journals and conferences. And lastly, she was named the National Certified Counselor and chairing the research committee for the Association for Specialists in Group Work. She's the faculty advisor for the Lambda chapter of Chi Sigma Iota. All right, so at this point, I will hand the floor over to Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Zhang for the program presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. So happy to have all you here this afternoon. It's very uncounselor-like that we can't see your faces and we can't, this isn't in, in a 3D world. So it's very uncounselor-like and feels sort of strange talking to all these names out there, but this is part of the process of certainly getting to know us a little bit more and doing your research in terms of finding the right fit, because it's not only us that are interviewing you, but you checking us out and seeing if this is the right space and place for you in terms of the investment that you want to make in yourself and your future career. But welcome to your interest in the counseling profession. Obviously, some of us in here are very biased and think it is the greatest profession in the world. I certainly am one of those. This is what our building looks like. Our classes are mostly face-to-face now. Since the pandemic has somewhat subsided and we are back face-to-face. So that is what our building looks like. We're at 2800 North Charles in Baltimore City. And so all of our classes are held within that building. Our program has two main focus areas, clinical mental health counseling and school counseling. And often people think it's like 2 degrees or it's 2 separate paths. But once you start seeing the program plan, you realize that it's more of a specialty area. And your identity is as a counselor first, then you get into those specialization areas. If you could advance to the next slide. Perfect. So I won't read this to you because I know you all out there can read. But more importantly, I really want to emphasize some of these words and really what it means to us, because I think mission statements are great, but really it's what happens when the rubber hits the road and what do we really value and care about as a program. And so I think the important words in that statement are social justice. Our program really prides itself and does a tireless job of making sure that the training of our school counseling and clinical mental health counseling students understand that counseling doesn't exist in a vacuum, and we live in a society that certainly favors some over others, and we all have some privileges based on lots of different things. And the systems are really inequitable. And so really understanding how these systems interplay on the students and the clients that we serve. So really it's about preparing our students to serve as socially just counselors who use those theories, that evidence, the frameworks that facilitate that development, that awareness, and that well-being, and understanding that we live in a very big global world. If the pandemic taught us anything, it's that we're a lot smaller than we think we are in terms of our connection to one another. And so really understanding and how to prepare the counselors that we train to work globally, not just locally or nationally, but really in a global market, and looking at what counseling looks like in a global world and understanding what that means in terms of social justice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the course sequences that exist. So if you want to advance, our program functions on a full-time and part-time basis. So we're flexible in terms of having some students that can fully commit to the graduate program and go on what's called a full-time schedule. And that's about, 4 classes a semester. And then we have our program that's more flex and based on some folks that maybe have, they have to work full time due to some financial concerns, or maybe are caretakers, or are involved in some other things and can't fully commit to the program, or fully can't commit to classes. You're always committed to the program, but fully commit to taking a full load in terms of classes. And so we have our program that is very flexible, regardless of whether you attend on a full-time or a part-time basis. This program is a 60 credit program, and it roughly takes it on a full-time basis about 3 years to complete. We do not repeat, and this is very important, we do not offer summer courses. Summer courses are a time where all of our students do things that are more of interest to them and their specificity as counselors in training. So that could mean maybe being part of a research team, maybe volunteering at a local organization, maybe just taking some self-care and, going back to, their home country or their home, whatever they consider their home space, and taking some respite, getting prepared for the PhD process. I mean, all of our students do a lot of different things in the summer. But our program does not offer summer courses. We're mostly fall and spring. So you can see here, based on whether you want to go the clinical track or the school counseling track, these are the courses that you would take. Note that there is a lot of similarity. Like I said earlier, your identity is counselor first. So for example, all of our students, regardless of whether you're school or clinical, you'll note in your first semester that you're with everybody. And so when I teach a counseling techniques course, I'm teaching it to counselors, regardless of whether you're in a school environment or an addiction center or in a family practice or in a military space, whatever, wherever you decide your context is going to be. In that first semester, there is one specialty course. Our school counseling students will take Foundations of School Counseling, and our clinical folks take Intro, otherwise known as Introduction to Clinical Mental Health Counseling. And then you can look at that screen and see how the program plan evolves, and where spaces where our students converge, and we have clinical mental health and school counseling students together, and then where they diverge, and we have those specialty courses based on what you want your specialty to be, whether it's the clinical space or the school counseling space. And it culminates, and I'll talk about this in just a little bit, as the years progress, and your last year completing a full year internship, which is practicing your counseling skills. And then the second half of your second year, so Keenan and Ashwarya, who are right in the beginning of their second year, actually we're about midway through the semester, so I would say 0.25 through their second year, they will be enrolling in their practicum next semester. So they're right about at the midpoint of their training in terms of getting into that practicum and internship experience and practicing those counseling skills in real life with real life clients and students. So this is what the program plan looks like. And, if you are accepted into the program, you will be assigned an advisor that will work with you. We always get the questions, if I decide to go full-time and then something happens, can I go part-time? Of course. If I start going part-time and want to take more classes, can I? Absolutely. Again, this is the flexibility that we have. I just had a conversation with one of my advisees as a full-time teacher. And this semester she's going part-time. She's only taking 2 classes, and I was working with her because next semester she's going to go full-time and take 4 classes. So we make it work based on, where you are and how many courses that you are going to take. But we tell students, because we run on a cohort model, so Ashwarya and Keenan are in a cohort together, and they started last year, the fall of 2022. I had to think about that. We try to keep the cohorts together, but sometimes there are slight deviations because life happens, and that's part of the process. But your advisor, will work with you on that process. Can you advance to the next slide? So this is what it looks like in terms of a part-time basis. So if you decide to not take those 4 classes a semester, roughly it should take you about 4 years versus the 3-year time in terms of a full-time. So it's the same courses, the exact same courses, they're just laid out into smaller pieces. As each semester progresses, on the left-hand side, you see the clinical mental health counseling track. And on the right-hand side, you will see the school counseling track. And basically, it's the exact same courses. They're just laid out and broken up a little bit more and extended by a year based on these courses and where you are. I often always get students as well asking the question, well, can I take 5 or 6 courses a semester? Because I really want to finish. The answer to that is no way. You know, these courses are very intensive academically, but also personally. People go into counseling sometimes and they think, you know, I'm going to fix everybody out there. But I'm sure Keenan and Aishwarya can tell you that our program is really putting a mirror to yourself and seeing who you are, because you are the instrument as a counselor. So it's very self-reflective. And thinking about who you are as a person. And so oftentimes it becomes rigorous in different ways, in ways that students have never experienced before. And not to mention, a lot of those courses have prerequisites. So you know, they're in a fine linear space of some courses come before the other. Can you advance to the next slide? All right, so let's talk about these clinical experiences. So as I mentioned earlier, in the second half of your second year with us, if you go on a full-time basis, you will be part of a practicum in your second semester of your second year. So Keenan and Aishwarya right now are in the application phase. They are filling out their applications, because you do it the semester before, to get into practicum. And practicum is where you are out in the field. If you are a school counselor, you are out at a school. We have a relationship with many districts locally. If you're from the area, you know, we're in Baltimore, but we work anywhere from districts in Northern Virginia all the way up to the Pennsylvania line. So we have a lot of different school districts that we work with, because our students are all over the place. And so our students will pick the district that they're interested in. And the level, whether it's elementary or secondary, and then the district will place our students in a particular school. For clinical, it looks a little bit different. Our clinical students actually have to apply to different programs, and we have what's called a field experience orientation, which funny enough was last night. And we also have a field experience fair, where a lot of our the counseling spaces that we work with come and recruit our students, and they interview our students to become practicum and internship. And the beauty as a clinical mental health, because clinical mental health is a bigger umbrella than school. School is a lot more specific. The beauty of the clinical mental health is it's really specialty. And, you know, we have students that work primarily, if their interest is working with the LGBTQIA+ population, you know, they could potentially work at a counseling center there that serves that particular population. If you know, you're interested in working with you know, veterans with PTSD, we have partnerships with there. If you're interested in addictions, if you're interested in family, you know, so finding that space in terms of what kind of clients you want to work with and what kind of spaces you want to work with. Our students go through that process and end up in lots of different sites. Again, the beauty of one of the biggest strengths we have is the fact that we're in Baltimore City, and, you know, the proximity to DC and the proximity to, you know, everywhere in between, and our nation's capital, and the massive military presence we have and all the other services that we have here gives us a lot of spaces and places for our students to do their practicum and internship. So practicum is your first chance at practicing those counseling skills with real life clients. And you will accrue 100 hours on that site. So it ends up being like you go maybe 1.5 days a week to that site. Now with that experience is a class. And so with that class, you come back with other students that are in your cohort that are either school or clinical mental health based on your track. And you come back and talk about your experiences, you do case conceptualizations, you know, you bring the kinds of conversations that you're having back with your clients to the space and we talk about it, treatment planning, integrating theory, self-reflection as a counselor, a lot of different things. And so the practicum experience is that place to first try out your counseling skills with the specific populations that you may be interested in working with in the future. You can go to the next slide. Internship. So I'll talk about the clinical experiences, internship, and school counseling, and then Dr. Zhang, I think if you want to take it over with clinical mental health, because my specialty is school counseling, and currently I'm teaching 2 sections of internship in school counseling and 1 section of practicum. And so the clinical experiences with school counseling in particular, same story. You go through this program, and your last year, you are in a school in the fall and in a school in the spring. And what this does is it gives you so much experience in schools. Whereas in your internship, you were earning, your practicum, you were only earning 100 hours. Your internship is 600 hours. So you can tell that you're pretty much at the site most of the time. Of course, there is a class associated with that. And again, our school counseling students, they do based on practicum and internship, they'll do elementary for one and secondary for another, because you get certified as a K-12 school counselor. So we want to make sure that you have those experiences, in the K through 12 space in American schools. So our students have those, and again, the beauty of the internship class, I just taught it last night, is that we have, students in elementary, junior high, high school, all over the area, and, how their roles evolve in these different schools and spaces, and what their experiences are like, what that looks like in terms of educational policy, procedure, all of that. So as you can tell, I get very excited talking about that, because you finally get to use your counseling skills, and watching our students grow from the beginning of practicum to the end of internship, right, Dr. Zhang? They're like, they grow up and they become, their skills advance, and it's beautiful to see. So Dr. Zhang, if you want to take, I think the next slide is about clinical.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Gonzalez.
No problem.
So again, welcome to the presentation. Thanks for your interest in our program. So I'm going to continue to talk about the clinic experience in clinic mental health counseling part. So it is very similar to school counseling, as Dr. Gonzalez has mentioned. So it will also be 600 hours with 6 credits in a clinic mental health setting. So a lot of time we got students ask whether we need to do the internship and practicum at the same site. So it is not required that you work at the same site. Actually, if you want to work at different sites than your practicum site, you are welcome to do it. And then the internship is completed across 2 academic semesters, and you need to complete 600 hours. I think among those 600 hours, 240 hours need to be face-to-face with your clients, either like in person, either individual or group or other types of counseling setting. And can you move on to the next slide? So approach to the end of your program, you are eligible to take the National Counselor Examination to get the National Counselor Certification. As you can see in my introduction, I'm also NCC counselor. And after you obtaining the NCC, you are also qualified to get other specialty certifications. And for school counseling graduates, you are eligible for certification as a school counselor in Maryland. And for different states, they have different requirements for licensure and also certificates, school counseling certificates. And they have the link here. So feel free to do more research on if you come from a different states and thinking about going back to obtain licensure at your state. Can you go to the next slides? And we also have those graduate certificate programs. One is a certificate of advanced graduate study, and the other is a postmaster certificate clinical mental health counseling. And so those two programs are for students who are not enrolled for full-time students or part-time students for the whole program, but they are interested in particular some courses to obtain their licensures. And then they also have the opportunity to get those credits from those two programs. Okay, move on to the next slide. Yeah, so where are our graduates employed? As you can see, based on their different tracks, and their employers may be a little bit different. So for clinical mental health counseling students, they can work at private practice, hospitals, outpatient clinics, pain clinics, schools, and also government and community agencies. For school counseling students, they can work from K-12 schools, college career centers, private organizations, private school, charter schools, NGOs, or community organizations. And okay, move on to the next slide. So for our students, actually have a lot of research opportunities, even though our program emphasizes on clinic skills, but we also have a lot of opportunity for students who want to participate in more research. I have students who work with some colleagues, including myself, on their research project, and also they work with some other faculty from other programs at the School of Education, and some of my students even work with other schools at the JHU. So there are a lot of opportunities, and also a lot of our students are interested in applying for doctoral programs. So I also have a lot of students who are currently in doctoral programs. It can be counselor education supervision programs like the Dr. Gonzalez and where I graduate. And also some of them are in clinic psychology program with some other programs. But as we emphasize counseling identity, like we encourage our students to consider counselor education and supervision program. But there are also other opportunities as well. So can you move on to the other? So yeah, I'm the Dr. Gonzalez was the former faculty advisor of Kaiskemaya Oda. I'm the current faculty advisor of Kaiskemaya Oda. So Kaiskemaya Oda is an international counseling honor society, and it has a lot of counseling students, counselor educators in the honor society. And our local chapter is NAMDA chapter. And our mission for our chapter is to advocate for our students' well-being. So we have been having a lot of events for our students to help them to maintain their well-being and also to support our students. For example, we have a mentorship program. So we will pair up with senior students with junior students or new students to help them to getting adjusted to their graduate studies. We also have several committees. For example, we have the students' mental health committees will host events to help our students with their mental health, to reduce their stress. We also have committees for international students, for the affinity groups. So we have a lot of different exciting events for students, and so like it also hosted as a community for our students. And I will pass on to Ashweer for her experience, to share her experience.
Awesome. Hi guys. It says that I can't start my video because the host has stopped it. I don't know who can fix that, but I'll talk in the meantime. Oh, perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashwarya Jayabarthi. I am currently a second year, like Dr. G mentioned, and I'm in the school counseling track. Just as a preface, I am originally from California, so I was born and raised there and then moved here for the program. Dr. G and Dr. Zhang did a wonderful job outlining a lot of the program, so I might end up repeating part of it, but I'm going to try to put as much of a personal twist as I can. So one of the questions on the screen is like, why this program specifically? So speaking from a school counseling lens, like Dr. G mentioned, the school has a wide relationship with a lot of districts across the state. And so there is variety in the types of schools that you can be involved in during practicum and internship, which is great experience now under heavy supervision before going off and working. Also research opportunities. So during the summer, I did join 2 research labs, and I've been working in both of them this semester as well. So especially with my desire to go into a PhD program in the future after practicing as a school counselor, this program was really helpful in gaining that extra research opportunities and with my interest in research while also taking classes. I thought it was also cool to mention that this is a 60 credit program for those of you who have looked into other school counseling programs. A lot of them are not. Specifically in Maryland, the 60 credit program means that I can then go get licensed afterwards. I can take that NCE examination that was mentioned earlier. And even though like all of my classes are targeted towards school counseling, I have so many of those overlapping classes that if I did choose to change and go into like school-based mental health or something that I would need clinical mental health counseling in, I could get that licensure afterwards. So there's that. School and program highlights. We have a very diverse cohort. I think that that's just as important as having a diverse faculty. I know people across the country, across the world are in this program. And so everyone brings in their unique backgrounds and unique experiences into the classroom and into our discussion. So that's super helpful. I am part of CSI. So there are initiatives and events that are going on that really promote community within our cohort. So last year was like the first year after COVID that everything was in person again. So there was a slow start to like in-person events and things like that. But this year it's been really picking up. So I do really appreciate that. Supportive faculty, calling out Dr. G and Dr. Zhang. I've had individual meetings with both of them about future plans. Neither of them are my advisor. So, you know, the faculty is really nice at supporting the decision that you want to go to and having those personalized meetings to really tailor their advice towards your journey. My advisor is also incredible. I'm actually one of the research labs that I'm on is with her, like they mentioned before. Advice for prospective students, take advantage of opportunities provided and don't be afraid to take risks. I moved across the country. I am the type of person to have a very small comfort zone, and I feel like I stayed in that a lot previously. And now I'm like speaking in front of 82 people. Granted, I can't really see your faces, but I feel like this is a big step. So there is also, you know, Dr. G mentioned like that this program really puts a mirror to yourself. So being vulnerable and of course knowing your limitations in that too, I think going forward with that makes a big difference. Cool.
Thank you. Now we have Keenan Elridge. And Keenan, let me know if you're having any issues with your mic.
Hi, hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I don't have the best connection, so I don't know if the video is going to mess things up, but I'm going to go for it anyway. So I'm Keenan. Ashwarya said a bunch of the things that I was, you know, definitely also going to cover and talk about. So I'm part of the clinical mental health counseling track, which is different from school counseling as been mentioned. And why I chose this program, I think it's because the first thing that I noticed was the diverse faculty. I Googled the program and I see professors from all walks of life. And I thought that was something that was very interesting to me, just because that's something that allows you to be able to have a better platform as a counselor in training and being able to get a diverse array of perspectives in that as well. So that's definitely something that drew interest to me, and the fact that it was practice-based also. I do want to obtain a PhD, but I think in this step, it was very important for me to, you know, get that practice-based application in and understand all the nuances within that. And so far, I think it's been wonderful in that regard too. And then obviously the reputation of Johns Hopkins and it being the first psychology lab in the US and all the precedent that is set forth for Johns Hopkins is something that was always very interesting to me, and was a main drawing that brought me here. And it was also close to home. I'm one of the few people in the program that's actually from Maryland and born and raised in Maryland. So it gave me the opportunity to keep my same networks and connect with everyone that I previously connected with. So that's also great. And like Ashwarya, I'm also a part of CSI, and there's a lot of different outreach in events and things like that, and guest lecturers that come to the School of Education that we're able to take advantage of. So we're definitely just ramping up that as we continue to have more in-person events as we fade away from COVID. So that's also a wonderful thing to have. And I think the program's really, really great at just having a caring and resourceful faculty. And I think all the professors are more than open to just having meetings. And like Ashwarya said, professors that aren't even, your advisors are able to be open and connect with you and just talk about their own experiences to how, their journey has happened and the things that have allowed them to be successful in their own capacity. And then the cohort model is also very, important and impactful just because we're able to have the same people every year. And with classes, you're able to, kind of build friendships and connect with folks that you had classes with in previous semesters. So that's, also really cool to have, and just being able to have that, close knit relationship with everyone as everyone's going through this process. And my general advice is that the interview, it wasn't too terrifying. I don't think it was bad at all, but there are different things that, you want to be keen on and aware of, and just making sure that, you do a little background research on the faculty if you choose to, apply and go through the interview process. And definitely self-care. I think that was really big for me. Just in terms of meditation, I've been appreciating nature, especially in that admissions process. And with COVID and everything that was happening then, that was very important. And I also want to echo that GPA is not the end all be all. I think that's something that's been mentioned in the program, and that we're all here to be, sound, competent counselors. And of course, GPA is important as students, but it's more important if you're able to serve people in your community and you're able to serve your future client base. So that's the emphasis placed on everyone within the program. So yeah, thanks for having me, and I am happy to be here.
Thank you, everyone. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our school's website. The application fee is $80. Next, you'll need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. A 500-word essay must be uploaded. You will need a current resume or CV, 2 letters of recommendation. And if you're unable to have one academic letter of recommendation, we will accept 2 professional letters of recommendation. Please note the GRE is not required for this program. And lastly, if selected, group virtual interview is also required. And please note, we are currently accepting applications for the fall 2023 start term. The application deadline date is January 6, 2023. All materials, including official transcripts, letters of recommendation, must be received by the admissions office on or before the January 6, 2023 deadline for full consideration. There are additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you're an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. And please note, if you hold qualifying degrees or have earned credits from institutions outside the US, you must have your academic records evaluated by the accredited independent credential evaluation agency before you can be considered for admission to the counseling programs. Additional information can be found on our school's website. And the tuition for the 2022-2023 academic school year is for online courses. It is $991 per credit plus a $20 per credit technology fee. For face-to-face courses, $936 per credit. This excludes textbook, course materials, graduation fee, and registration fee. Please note additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our school's website for the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees so that you can understand the complete picture of the costs associated with becoming a student here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. The School of Education offers a limited number of partial need-based institutional scholarships each year. SOE's endowed scholarship awards range on average from $800 to $3,000 per semester and are applied to tuition expenses beginning in the fall semester. To see if you qualify for the endowed scholarship, please visit the Grants and Scholarship page on the school's website. Thank you for attending today's counseling virtual webinar. At this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions. And also Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Jean, feel free to kick us off with some of the questions that we have already received.
Yeah. I want to
Some
answer
really good questions too. Mhm.
Yeah, great questions. And I want to address the ones that I see that are all like, but I don't have this experience, but how much is this experience? What if my GPA is not great? Like there's a series of those questions, and I want to talk a little bit about this process and the kind of candidate we're looking for. We are a training program for counselors. So if you don't have a background in psychology or education, it's okay. We have plenty of students that come from all walks of life and have had careers or education before this that isn't in this, psychology, education, counseling world. You're going to get all that you need in your training program here. And as a matter of fact, I kind of like having students from very different backgrounds. I've had engineers, I've had poli-sci folks, I've had, international aid folks. I mean, I've had all sorts of folks come through the program, and their background and experience really adds to the dialogue and really looks at frameworks from a totally different space. So we welcome that. The other thing I keep seeing is things like, my GPA wasn't great, or, I had all these circumstances. Well, tell us more about that in the essay. We really value the essay. You're going to learn that counseling is about the transparency and vulnerability of the people. So that's really what we look for in the application. So we're not a research program. If you've had research experience before, great. If you don't, it doesn't make you less of a candidate for us. And if you've had research experience before and want to keep using those skills while you're here, as Aishwarya said, we have lots of different research teams. I have two. I know Dr. Zhang has a few as well. Our students are involved in them. So there are opportunities for you to do research here. If you have done research, have never done research, or want nothing to do with research, other than the kinds of conversations we'll have in class about, evidence-based practices. So, that's really what we look for in a candidate. We really value that essay and being 100% you in terms of vulnerability. Let's see. I also see things about paid internships. We do not offer paid internships. All of our internships are unpaid because it becomes a conflict of interest. Let's see here. Oh, there was another question that I wanted, Dr. Zhang, I'm sorry, I'm taking over, but I wanted to address this first question that I see. in terms of, is there an opportunity to specialize in both school counseling and clinical mental health counseling? And we get that question all the time. So here's the deal. If you want to practice as a school counselor and clinical mental health counselor, then the way to do it is to go through the school counseling program. As Aishwarya said, we are a 60-credit school counseling program. So you will have all the coursework that you need in order to be certified as a school counselor, and you will have all the coursework that you need to sit for the exam to go through the licensure process. There are additional things that you will need to do after graduation in order to get a license, but clinical folks have to do that too. And so that's the way to do it. Now, if you go through the clinical program and then want to go back and be a school counselor, you can't. So if you want to go through the school counseling program and then have the opportunity to work in clinical work as well, the best way to do it is through going through the school counseling side. Go ahead, Dr. Zhang.
Yeah. I also see a question regarding the practice and internship. So for school counseling students, you don't need to find your own site. So the school will have built that relationship. So you will be assigned a school setting, like for you to practice your practicum or internship. But for clinics counseling, clinic mental health counseling track, our students need to find your own sites. So the rationale behind it, because that is a wide range of interest for clinic mental health school, clinic mental health student counseling students. So it's really hard to really say like I will assign you to certain setting, because students may have different interests than what we want to assign them. So they need to find their own sites for their, if they are clinic mental health counseling students.
I also see a question in terms of the average age for the cohort. How big are our cohorts? Our cohorts are probably anywhere between like 60 and 80, right, Dr. Zhang? And the average age, I would say, is the majority. I mean, I don't know the exact statistics. I don't know if admissions has those numbers. The majority of our students, I say, are typically undergrad, coming out of undergrad, or maybe have 5 years of experience. But we also have a good number of folks that are career changers and have, worked 10 plus years and want to transition into the counseling field. So again, I don't know if behind this person's question was, I'm older, so maybe I shouldn't do this. Don't let age or anything be a barrier for you pursuing what careers you want to do. I don't know if you see another one, Dr. Zhang, that I'm trying to like hurry through time.
Yeah. So I see some question regarding international students. So currently our program is not a STEM program. So how long will our internet holding at one step back to gain more work experience? So for international students, after your graduation, you will have 1 year OPT. So that is for every international student.
Someone's asking a question about the format of the interview. How do we do it, online or in person? We do it online because of the fact that we have a huge global market, and I know that many of you are all over the world. So to come, to Baltimore for a one-day interview is costly for some. So we want to be equitable, and so we do it via the online process.
I see some question regarding the online courses. Our course majority, I think about 99% of our courses are in-person classes. And so we do not offer too many in-person online courses, and you need to be in person for all of the courses that are required to be in person.
Someone's asking a question about carryover credits from courses. We would have to evaluate that. We are a CACREP accredited program. So the maximum credits that we accept are 6, so it would only be 2 classes. And it has to come from another CACREP accredited program. So I think whoever asked this question, it's in psychology. So the answer to that is probably not.
And Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Jean, I'm gonna just make a quick correction. I know I mentioned the essay was 500 words. It's actually 2 to 3 pages. So my apologies. So again, it is 2 to 3 pages answering all the questions. Again, this is in the admissions deadline and requirements webpage.
I see.
Are there, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dr.
I'm
Jean.
sorry, yeah. So I see like some question regarding teaching assistantship. So there is possibility of teaching assistantship, but it's usually for students who have already taken the courses. So when you first enter the program, you have not taken any courses, it's impossible to be a teaching assistant at that semester. But once you have taken 1 semester course, and you may apply for to become a teaching assistant.
Someone's asking about how many of the faculty are part-time versus full-time. I don't know what that means. We have core faculty and we have adjunct faculty. And I believe our core faculty now is at, Dr. Jean, like 12 of us?
Yeah, I think 11 or 12.
11 of
yeah.
us? We do have lecturers that do come within their own specialty area and teach, but the majority of courses are taught by our core faculty and lecturers.
And I see a question regarding lab courses, different from non-lab courses. So lab courses is basically you will have extra time to practice your skills required in that class. Depends on the course, the lab may look a little bit differently. For example, for techniques, you need to take the lab. So you need to record your session outside of the class. But for group counseling course, there is also a lab component, but it is embedded in the course. So it depends on the course, it may look like a little bit different.
Yeah, and I see a question about the differentiation between lab and non-lab courses. So to answer that question, I know we use that term interchangeably, but just to explain what lab courses are. So there are courses within the counseling program where you will actually tape yourself in sessions with a client, and you will show parts of that tape in your class. And then outside of class, there's smaller groups that come together to evaluate and get feedback on those tapes. So that's what we consider lab. And we actually have a counseling lab that's a special area in our School of Education building that has cameras that are very unobtrusive. They just kind of sit in a corner and you can record yourself counseling a client. I'm trying to see.
I see a great question, Dr. Gonzalez. It says,
Go for
what personal and professional qualities does the counseling profession need most right now? So yeah, that's a great question, right? So I think I really agree with Dr. G. I think when we as counselors, you are the instrument. So you really need to work on yourself in order to be a good counselor. So you need to first tune into yourself, to work on yourself, to see like what's your strengths, what's your weakness, what's your stereotypes or biases, your willingness to grow as a counselor, as a person. I think that is something like we really want our students to have. And I think there are a lot of other qualities, but that's something like first to come to my mind. Dr. Gonzalez, I think you may have some other things to add.
Yeah, I just think multicultural competency, advocacy skills, the willingness to be vulnerable. I think all those are really important right now in terms of what is needed, the fight to fight against systems of injustice. I'm trying to type some up too, because I'm trying to get to everybody's questions, but it's so many. I don't know if I see any more. If admissions can speak a little bit to, I see a lot of questions about fee waivers. I see some questions about accommodation. I don't know if, Sean, you want to take some of those.
Yes, Dr. Gonzalez, thank you for sharing that. I was just about to answer that question. So the university, we don't offer graduate student housing, but our students, obviously this is a program in Baltimore. We have students living near the university campus, and I can share the website that has all these resources and again, just description about the different types of neighborhoods here around the Homewood campus, and I can definitely share that.
Someone asked, what are the types of jobs your alumni hold? What's the average starting salary for your graduates? It's hard to say because obviously it's a global market. And so that average starting salary often varies depending on where you are and the cost of living in those spaces. But we had an entire slide about what types of jobs our alumni hold. Some of our alumni go right into a doctorate program. Some go into clinical practice. Some become school counselors, work for non-for-profits, lots of different things. Keenan, Ashwarya, you've got a question here, I see. Could you share more about why you decided to pursue a master's degree first? Would love to hear more about the benefits of this master's degree before getting into a PhD. I don't know if any of you heard any of that.
Yeah, so I was actually typing out an answer, but perfect. I can respond really quickly. So I know that I really like working with individuals, but I also want to go back and, have that knowledge to vague answer, but affect change at a higher level. So that was why I wanted to go into a master's degree first and practice in school counseling. I feel like also practicing will allow me to really identify what I want to do my PhD in. Like, do I like the more psychology side, the neuroscience side, or the education side, and then going back and doing that. I think Keenan also mentioned like this is a very practice-based program. So I do like getting the counseling skills before going higher and, going into a PhD.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo that the actual like that it's practice based. I really appreciate that. And there's not such an emphasis on research right away. I did research in undergrad, so I thought it would be nice to kind of take a step back and be able to do the application based type of work. So I think that's what drove me to it, and also the fact that this degree with the licensure can be terminal also. There's not always a need to continue on towards the PhD, so that was something that was also a consideration.
And thank you. And the next question I know was asked was does the School of Education offer application fee waivers? SOE, we do not offer application fee waivers except to members of these certain organizations, which are members of the U.S. military, National Guard, or U.S. veterans, Gates Millennium Scholars Program, AmeriCorps alumni, McNair Scholars, the National Name Exchange, and then Return Peace Corps volunteers. And to request a waiver, please complete the online request form in the application.
Ashwarya, I see you're typing that answer to which is your favorite class so far, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh no, I was hoping typing would give me a second to like figure out what it is. Dr. G, I'm gonna go with your class. So we talked a lot about counseling techniques.
I didn't mean to ask you that for you to say that.
It's one of the very like the first classes where you do a mock session with a mock client, which was terrifying. And then like recording that and doing counseling techniques. And learning the basis of a lot of the techniques that like you go through all your other classes and use. And I've noticed that some of the techniques I just use in normal conversations now. So I feel like that was really useful and also becoming in like setting the tone for the program, honestly. So Keenan talked about how GPA is not the end all be all. And I remember seeing like all the comments on my first tape and being like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. So then I think my focus shifted more towards being the best like counselor I could be instead of like getting the best grades I could. So in terms of both the content of the class and how the class shaped my mindset towards the program, that was my favorite one.
Yeah, that was wonderfully said. My answer is also Dr. G's counseling techniques. I'm sure Dr. G wouldn't want us to, continue to boast about her, but she's amazing. And beyond that, I think the techniques class
Keenan,
was
I'm gonna send you that check. All right.
I think the techniques class was really awesome and just laying the foundation. This is the number one course that you're going to apply to all the other courses pretty much. So I really appreciated that and just the flexibility within the course to be ourselves. So definitely that one.
Someone had a great question about examples how the program continue to take accountability and emphasize its social justice mission while operating within a higher educational institution, and not only a higher educational institution, a predominantly white institution. So let's be upfront and talk about the elephant in the room. I think that this is an ongoing process. Listen, there's never an arrived when it comes to the mission of social justice. So my clear-cut answer, and I see it's 03, and I definitely know we're going over, but my clear-cut answer is constantly taking a look at ourselves, rethinking the way we do things, we say things, collecting data to understand the experiences of our students. I think all of that is really important, and challenging each other, whether it be students challenging each other, students challenging faculty, faculty challenging each other. I think that constant accountability is really important. For me personally, I mean, this is my life's work. So I do it through research. I do it through conference presentations. I do it through how I write and what I write about, and holding my students accountable for when they are in the field, to really think about systemically, how are they advocating for the clients and the students that they serve.
All right, unfortunately, we are out of time. We received so many good questions today. And if your question was not answered, please feel free to reach out. If it's admissions related questions, feel free to reach out to my colleague, James McCarty. Here is his email address and here's the phone number. For any program related questions, please reach out to Ms. Kiana Napper. She's a senior academic program coordinator, and this is her email address here. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Thank you to our wonderful presenters, Dr. Gonzalez, Dr. Jean, and of course, our student speakers participating also in our Q&A as well. Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
If you're still listening, please feel free to reach out, send me an email. I would love to keep conversation going. Feel free to send me an email and we can set up either a phone appointment, a Zoom appointment, and keep chatting more. So thank you all so much, and I hope to connect with all of you really soon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.